let's see. So today is the Children of Blackcloud. Uh, I guess first off, we'll go ahead and start off. So, for anybody who doesn't know, I don't think I have anybody in chat. It's just my friend Nish. So, for anybody who doesn't know, my name is C. My Steam name is Tendolhorse. You can definitely hit me up on it. Um, and Eric, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Eric. I'm Playplaid. I go by Foxtrot 2620, and I go by Trot on Steam. Trott. So yeah, I usually post on the Facebook group if I want a game, but if you see me on, shoot me a message.
And I guess mine is also Tendolhorse. I think it's either Tendolhorse or TDH917. No, it's TDH917.
68.
Yeah,
Yeah, on Playplaid.
on
Yeah.
PlayPlad. So yeah. Um, so one more week until Tulsa. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it's this week. It's a couple days, really. Couple
Yeah,
days.
yeah. It's
Crazy.
so it's gonna be April 15 is the pre-release, and then the tournament is April 16, correct?
Uh, yeah, I think so. 15th and 16th. Yep,
Yep.
that's right.
And I bet the night before is going to be crazy before the tournament. I bet there's going to be. I don't know
I'm
if people are.
curious. Yeah.
I don't know if people are going to be like secretly playtesting with their own group of friends that go
See,
there.
that's what I'm wondering too, because Friday the expansion comes out, so you want to play, you want to spend Friday playing Games of Ashes, right?
Yeah,
But you don't want to be spoiling your deck and
exactly.
letting people know what you're gonna play. So it is very tricky, very tricky.
It's really hard. So I just want to do a quick run through of what we talked about last week, about the about Rin's deck and his Frostback Bears, or Frostdale Giants. I mean, uh, but yeah, Frostback Bears. I think Frostback Bears are super powerful, and they. I don't know. How are we gonna answer to them? How are we gonna find an answer to them?
Uh, yeah, you play more Bears.
Just play, yeah. Bears versus
Uh,
Bears.
I mean, yeah, Bears are really good. In terms of an answer to them, I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question because I have no idea how you answer bears, except with bears.
Then we've got. Let's see. I want to talk more about Deep Freeze. So Deep Freeze is actually pretty cool in that you can. What we didn't mention last time was you can actually transfer it. You can actually use transfer and transfer status token onto it, basically making them have to use another side action. Though it does open up something else too for them.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting use. I'm not sure how good transfer is to put like a status token from one thing to deep freeze because it only really delays one more side action. But it is an
Yeah,
option.
yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect it's not a perfect strategy, but the option is there. Who knows? I mean, maybe there could be, a winning play where it came down to that. I don't know. I'm just trying to fill in the void in time. Ice Trap. We talked about a lot about Ice Trap, um, and how it's pretty much gonna define the meta. I don't know. I mean, I've done a few playtests, and I don't really see myself really bothered with Ice Trap that much.
So it's interesting you say that because I kind of feel the same way where I don't want to play it myself. But the fact that it exists means that people have to play around it. So it's kind of interesting. I think the biggest problem with Ice Trap is that it's your first fives are so tight now
Mm-hmm.
that finding room for Ice Trap in a first five is kind of rough to do unless you really really need to make sure something doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy to make room in that first five for it.
The other thing that I actually realized too was in Rin's deck, he has a spellboard of 4 available to him, but he only has 3 spellboard cards. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. Because generally, with the base set, you saw like a spellboard, like all of the spellboard slots filled up with something.
Huh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, what? Bear, Golem, and Frostbite, right?
Yep. Bear Golem, Frostbite, and then that's it. Yeah. Um, and oh, also, here's a little fun fact for Rin's Fury. Rin's Fury gives a 0.012% chance, 0.012% chance that you could roll 5 frogs.
Yeah. So from my personal experience of playing Rin's Fury quite a few times,
Uh
usually you roll 0 frogs.
huh. Which
Usually
is
it's 0.
Which is surprising because if you have 5 natural dice, if you roll 5 natural dice, it's actually a 59.8% chance of getting at least 1 frog.
But you have to roll 5 natural dice. And most of the
Yes,
time you're not using it to roll 5 natural
you
dice.
do have to roll 5 natural dice, correct.
And most of the time you're rolling maybe 3 natural dice on a Rin's Fury.
Yeah.
It really depends on what mana you need at the time. But I don't really roll more than 3 most of the time.
All right. Did you want to put your video back up? I just realized that
Oh,
I didn't have
I don't know why I dropped out. Oh, my camera pooped out.
oh.
Let me unplug it. Put it back in. Hmm. Um. hmm. Well, it's showing it on Skype when I go to video settings. I can see myself, but not in our call for some reason.
Huh. That's all right. I don't get to
I can
see.
just try to rejoin the call, I suppose. Just would only take a couple of seconds.
Okay, let's try that.
All right, let's do it.
Technical difficulties, I guess. There we go.
There we go.
All right. There he is. Okay. So let's see. Where were we? Yeah. So, yeah, that's true. I mean, chances are you're not going to be rolling 5 nature dice. Chances are you're going to have like a bunch of other stuff that you would want to bring back. But if you did decide to go mono or at least 5 nature die Rin, you could, if you wanted to re-roll all 5, you'd get about a 60% chance of getting at least 1 frog. So that's pretty cool to know. And a 0.012% chance you roll 5 frogs.
Yes, and win the. What's the? Now let's do the math for your chances of winning the finals at Tulsa with 5 frogs to the face.
uh,
If
yeah.
If no decks run 5 frogs, then that are in the finals, I guess the answer would be 0%. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. You have to be playing Rin, and you have to be playing 5 frogs, and you have to get to the finals.
Do it. That's a challenge. That's a
I'm not playing
challenge.
5 frogs, but
All right, so let's go ahead and get into what today's all about. Brennen Blackcloud.
yeah.
All right, so Brennen. He's got Battlefield 5, 20 HP, and a spell board of 3. He's pretty much like Noah in terms of stats, except Noah has one more. But definitely not like Noah because I think his Spirit Burn ability is loads better. Um,
Um. Well, it's different than Noah's ability. Noah's ability is way more situational, though. Yeah, it's not as all-encompassing as Spirit Burn.
yeah. I mean, Shadow Target is nice, but I feel like Shadow Target really dies down late game. Whereas Brennan's Spirit Burn ability, it is always going to be a threat.
So I think Shadow Target is actually meant to be used as an aggressive deck because it's bad late game. You
Mm-hmm.
need to use it early to gain a tempo advantage,
Yeah.
um, and then win before it gets to late game and your ability is useless. It's something interesting that Brennan shares with Noah that we'll cover later, and it's their unique cards are not that great, but we'll cover that later.
Yeah, that's actually part of my notes. Anyway, uh, so, so yeah, I actually can't wait to see the combos that people are gonna pull off with Spirit Burn. I mean, I want to see some pretty crazy, first turn, like massive damage.
I mean, you can do it, but man, you leave yourself pretty wide open when you do that sort of thing,
That's
right?
that's
I mean,
true.
you can go all in. You can be like, I'm gonna drop a Chant of Revenge. I'm gonna drop a Fire Archer, and then I'm gonna Spirit Burn and Final Cry. And I just, with a Fire Archer ping, and that's all in one turn. Fire Archer ping is 1, Spirit Burns 2 more, that puts you at 3, Final Cry puts you at 5, and Champ puts you at 6 damage. You're like, boom, I just did 6 damage in one turn. And like, yeah, but now you have a free battlefield, so I can hit you with the Hammer Knight for 4. Like, okay. And I
Well,
still have a unit.
you also still have one more card left in your hand, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah. So you could always have that as or you could just bring back the Fire Archer. You could
Well,
bring back the Fire Archer. You
you'd have
could
2 cards left. You had Fire Archer, Chant,
Fire Archer
uh,
Chant.
Final Cry. You still have 2 cards left.
Oh yeah.
Seem
So
like I'm
two.
gonna Molten Gold. I'm gonna.
I mean, you don't really need the Molten Gold that early, but
You want to go
um,
damage. You want to go all out.
I said in one turn. I said for one turn,
I mean, yeah,
not
it's
one round.
definitely
Not
cool.
one round.
It's definitely very cool for one turn. You can get a lot of damage in.
Yeah. I think because of that, the lower health Phoenixborn might struggle a bit more, but the higher ones they're pretty much just gonna shrug it off. I think that I almost feel like if you did that against a Cole or an Airedale, it wouldn't be too bad. Do you feel the
Again,
same way?
uh, well, so the only thing, and I agree. Like for them, it puts them on a fast timer.
Yeah.
That's what that ability really does. That ability puts the game on a timer.
It,
That says the game's gonna end in next number of rounds just from Spirit Burn alone.
yeah.
So you have to do something. But it is a double-edged sword because you destroy a unit on your battlefield. You
Yeah.
lose battlefield presence, which means you don't have something to block and attack anymore. Um, so it has to be in some situations, maybe killing a unit and burning them for 2 or 3 or 4 isn't worth taking 5 to the face. So it's gonna be tricky tricky balance there. I think against some decks which are um, not going to be able to compete damage wise, it'll be really strong against. So if people are playing things like, oh, I'm going to just build up my spell board and then I'm going to summon things and then slowly start winning the game, yeah, that's not going to cut it with Spirit Burn being so much faster than that. But against decks that have big guys on the field, bears on the field, Spirit Burn's not fast enough.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so real quick, I also want to mention the art. This is something that I also noticed. There is a mansion behind Brennen Blackcloud. Like that's something that I didn't really know. This is not really a strategy type of thing, but I just wanted to mention
Isn't
it just to say like Fernand because I didn't actually say her name last time we did this. Fernanda Suarez, the artist, paid really good attention to detail.
isn't uh isn't Black Cloud like on a volcano?
Yeah, I
So there's
think
this
so. It's like a
giant looking or awesome looking castle, kind of Dracula-esque by this volcano. That's
pretty
pretty cool.
much. Yeah. All right. Let's continue on. Let's go to Chant of Protection. So Chant of Protection, I haven't really seen much of it yet. In my little playtest with my friend, uh, but I mean, you're essentially increasing your life value by 9, so that's not too bad. But I don't know how I feel about the discard aspect of it
Yeah.
because it's very tough. You don't really want to put in your first 5 because your first 5 is basically your bread and butter. Like you really don't want to get rid of anything unless you've got really cheap units. Like you don't mind chucking an EV to get it back. With uh, a die, and then essentially just having Chant of Protection be a 2 status protection.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with doing with the EV. You're right. It's not a first 5 card because of that. Now, it has potential in Saria to be a first 5 card because you can draw an extra card,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could ditch, whatever you drew.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
yeah, it's not down a first 5 card. It's definitely a card you want to draw into later on. When you draw 5 cards, you're like, well, I'm not going to play everything on future rounds, right? You usually
Yeah,
don't play your entire hand on future rounds. In the first 5, you usually try to play everything. That's why you put it in your first 5.
right.
So, yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think it's cool. I think it's nice that we have it in the game. It gives an interesting option um, instead of life gain for some more temporary hit points. Now, one thing that's important though to note, guys, and I did lose a game once because of this. Chant of Protection does not stop Molten Gold. You still die to Molten Gold, so don't. Make sure you use it before you get to 3 life.
Yes. Or you could hope and pray that your opponent doesn't realize it and just put down a Chant of Protection anyway, and maybe they might, think twice about using the Molten Gold. Who knows? I don't know. All right, so something that I wanted to mention. Do you feel like because of Chain of Protection and the cards that we're going to talk about later on, do you think that stall is going to be much bigger?
It's possible. You still need a win condition, right?
Yeah,
You still need to either be able. You still need to deal damage in some way.
yeah,
Whether that's going to be milling their entire deck, or if it's going to be burning them directly with other cards, you still have to have a way to win the game. So, but Stall definitely has a lot of tools now, and yeah, we're going to cover those.
yeah. All right. Let's go into Chant of the Dead. So initially, I liked Chant of the Dead, uh, but the more I played with it and kind of like and played against it, I felt like it wasn't really doing enough.
So it's a. I like the card. I like that it exists. I think it's a really cool card that has combo potential. Not in this set necessarily,
Hmm.
but I think when we add more expansions, you're gonna see like it's gonna. Maybe it's not the next expansion. Maybe it's the other expansion that adds new dice, and you're like, oh man, I can make this crazy combo deck with Chin of the Dead now,
Hmm.
right? This card has that potential. Um, Right now, it's still kind of cool because you can do things like drop a Chin of the Dead, um, drop allies, um, maybe allies that have the ability to sack themselves
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
ability for different effects, and then you can do something cool with Brennen because you can like drop a Hammer Knight, swing with it, Spirit Burn the Hammer Knight, and as long as you have one die left, if you get the stacks on Chant, you can sack the Chant, grab back Hammer Knight, swing with it again, and you're just getting really aggro there because if you get two Hammer Knight swings in plus a Spirit Burn, that's 10 damage.
That's true. That is true.
Um, but yeah, you have to go ally heavy.
Yeah. Um, and it's right now. Well, other than Rin's Fury, but Rin's Fury is a Phoenix-born specific card. It is essentially one die for a two die gain. So that's definitely, and not to mention you don't have to sack it right away. You can wait to sack it. You can actually wait until next round if you wanted to. So that's definitely something that's really nice about it.
Yep, and I think that's where the combo for this card is going to come in the future. It's going to be a setup thing where you set it up and then you have one big play in a future round, and you just
Yeah,
set up the rest of your deck to draw into the combo.
yeah. So we'll definitely have to see. All right, let's move on to Dread Wraith. All right, so Dread Wraith. It's three ceremonial to summon, but it's a 1/6, so you're effectively paying three for 6 life. I mean that's really good. It's really expensive, but also really really good.
This is the closest thing we have to a wall in this
Yeah.
game, like walls in Magic. I mean, it's actually better than a wall because it hits really hard after it takes damage. Uh, three daggers is expensive, but not what you get for it is also very good value, like you said.
Yes.
So, I mean, you put this thing out there, and if they have a unit, like a 3 attack unit, 4 attack unit, and they attack into it, you can block no counter and then hit them back for one more damage than they were going to hit you for. And that's something they have to be afraid of. So
Yep.
now they say, well, I can't attack into this thing because if I attack into it, I'm going to end up taking damage. So it's a really interesting card. It's really strong for stall decks. I don't think it's an aggro card at all. I think
Hmm.
it's a control deck card.
Yeah, I think that the best thing about it, like you said, was being able to block, choosing not to counter, even if they had three or four different little weenie units. Each of them are attacking. You essentially have to. You essentially can't attack unless you don't mind beefing up this uh, you know wraith, the demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, it does have a focus 2 ability.
yeah.
Not sure what that means. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense, but focus
Yeah.
2 is a weird thing right now.
Yeah, I agree. Focus 2 is a very weird thing. I don't see anybody really putting any more than one Dread Wraith. Because even if Noah Shadow targeted it, it's not like you're really losing much. You're just you know,
Yeah, we should mention you only can have 2 copies of that card
yeah.
in play at the same time.
Yep.
So you can only have 2 Dread Wraiths out. So having 3 Dread Wraith books and then paying 3 daggers to remove an exhaustion token is kind of bad, actually. It's not that great.
Yep.
It's going to be very, very, very limited situations where that's useful. And yeah. Uh, in the meantime, you have drawn 3 books that 2 of those books were probably useless to you.
Yep. Okay. Poison. I haven't played with poison at all yet. I don't really I don't really know if it's uh I mean, I don't really see a point where I can play it. I do like it. I like the card. But it's too slow for I guess maybe it's because I've been making decks that are trying to do faster trying to end the game faster. So
Mhm.
cuz like poison really makes me feel like it's more for like the slow decks.
So the best part about Poison is you get to sing the song when you play it. But Poison is kind of like the ceremonial version of Fade Away to me. It's something that's going to deal with the unit slowly, but it's 1 die and it deals with the unit.
Yeah.
So I'm not playing it, but I don't play control decks like you were saying. You're playing something more fast paced, and it's a slow paced card. So it's something I don't play either, but I can see where it would be useful.
Let's see. It is inexhaustible, so that's definitely something that's nice about it. Um, and oh, that this is something else that needs to be mentioned. You can still attack with a unit that has 1 life left before poison triggers, because you take the main action first, and then the damage goes on it. So, you know, even if you put it on a Hammer Knight, that Hammer Knight with 1 life left can still put in one more attack before it finally goes away.
So
So
there's
that's the
another
other thing.
question on there. If you played poison onto your own unit, it wouldn't take damage after that first poison play, I don't think.
Right, yes. Would it?
I don't know, because this is after you take a main action other than pass, but poison wasn't in play yet. It makes sense when you play it on your opponent, right? Because it's not their turn yet. But if
Mm-hmm.
you play it on your own unit, like if you played it on a Dread Wraith or a Leech Warrior, I don't think it takes the damage, but I'm not sure. Anyway, there's cool stuff like that that you can do with poison, like
Yeah.
poison your own Dread Wraith, and then have something that's getting stronger slowly over rounds.
Or poison your own Leech Warrior. That's also something that's a lot of people have been thinking about doing.
That one's it's expensive though.
It
Doing those
is.
things is very expensive.
It
I
is
mean,
very
if you put it on
expensive.
a Leech Warrior, you got to make sure you're gonna be passing before it dies,
Yeah. Yep.
or before it gets range of your opponent, killing it easily. Because you put 3 dice into that Leech Warrior, one more with poison. That's 2 cards and 4 dice. You better make sure you get dice worth of exhaustion with
Yeah.
that thing.
Yep. All right. Choke. Oh man. So choke is really controversial right now. Um,
Yeah, because of the way the rules interactions work with it.
yeah. Now, Bob Klotz has said that in his preview that it stops every single Phoenix Born ability, and that is true because I think every single Phoenix Born ability has an activate ability, right? Um, yeah, I don't think any of them have passive abilities.
Nope.
However, Choke can also stop passive abilities like bypass, battle advantage,
Unit
or
guard.
unit guard. Yeah, and the interaction is going to be really weird. We're going to be hearing a little bit more from um, Bob and his ruling on it. He did say that he is going to put out a new FAQ detailing how the I guess how the
Timing structure
timing
work.
yeah the timing structure works. So
I mean, it's really not that complicated, but it's not super intuitive based on other card games.
Yes.
Especially if you use Magic as a reference, then it's not intuitive.
Yeah.
But if you think of it as, well, I'm gonna block for this unit with this unit card, and you say, well, I choke it, so you can't. Now you have an option of declaring another blocker or not. Um, it's gonna be. It is a weird timing structure, but it makes sense. It's very logical if you think about it
Yeah.
in the context of Ashes as a game, the way Ashes works.
But it is nice though. I've choked Brennan's ability before, and it's a good feeling for, of not taking 2 damage that one round.
Yeah, it's also fun to say you choke things like I choke an owl. I mean, choking an owl doesn't make any sense because you pay a die to discard a card, so you might as well just discard a choke. But it's fun to say I choke an owl.
Yeah. Um, but don't choke real owls,
No,
because
don't do that. That's not cool.
they have feelings. All right. Next up is not that. Hold on. Next up is Blood Chains. So, Blood Chains. I feel like this thing replaces Steady Gaze. It's something that I would rather see, or I would rather put in a deck rather than, like, if I had to choose between, going Illusion to put in Steady Gaze or just having a Blood Chain. I just choose Blood Chains because it's 1 die, and there's so many 1/2s that you can combo it with.
Yeah, so you got to look at it from the perspective of Blood Change requires two, not necessarily 2 cards, but 2 things. You need Blood Chains, and then you need a unit.
Yes.
Conjurations are a source of cheap units with 2 life that are great targets for Blood Chains.
Mm-hmm.
Violinist is a free unit that's a great target for Blood Chains. So, look on the other side, Steady Gaze is 2 dice, but you don't require anything else. It's just the card itself. On that note, I agree with you 100%. I prefer Blood Chains over Steady Gaze. Steady Gaze, the fact that it's 2 class symbols makes it more expensive because 2 class symbols actually restricts your die pool a lot more.
Yeah.
So once we get more illusion dice, maybe if you don't want to go ceremonial, you can, you'll rely more on Steady Gaze. But for now, Blood Chains is definitely a lot sweeter. Also, it has some cool interactions with other things because it lets you kill your units so you can trigger things like Widows, Final Cry, Chant of Revenge, and you can get rid of things that have been locked down by bears
Mm-hmm.
or have been locked down by another card we're going to cover here called Regress. It's a good way to clear that spot up that was locked down.
Yes, definitely. And also, if you decide to play Wraiths, it is going to take 4 mana to do it, 4 dice, 4 ceremonial die. But my God, 6 rounds of exhaustion
Well, that
is,
unit's gone,
yeah,
basically.
that unit's just gonna sit there for the rest of the game.
Now, there are 2 cards that really. So it's for most things, it's gone. Like it's not doing anything. 6 exhaustion tokens means that unit's asleep forever, and that battlefield slot is locked. But there are 2 cards that can get around that. Actually, there's more than that, but in general, you could Blood Chains the unit that got Blood Chains.
Yep.
And that would be upsetting for the Wraith player. Or you can refresh, and that would be even more upsetting.
Yeah. Yep. All
Kind of
right.
interesting. Things like Blood Chains can make cards like Wayward Knight better, which is really interesting to me. So Wayward Knight, I think, is a pretty meh overall unit.
Yeah.
But adding things like Blood Chains and Bears, which add exhaustion tokens, makes it better without changing the card at all. You're just changing what's out in the pool and what's effective. So that's really cool to see Wayward Knights get a little buff on the side like that.
Yeah. I agree. All right, so you did mention Regress, and that is the next card that we're going to be talking about. Regress. It is Oh my god, it is the most annoying alteration to have to deal with because all it is just, I mean, you look at it and you're like, oh, well, -5 attack, that's all it does, along with, discarding all other alterations. That's not too bad because I don't really play that many alterations. But no, it's not it's not the way that you think. It is so annoying to play against because not only do you have a zero, whatever unit on your field, you also have a zero unit, zero something unit that is not doing anything. I mean, you could attack with it, you could block with it, but like otherwise, it's just kind of sitting there, and you can't really interact with it unless you wanted to waste a turn attacking with it for nothing.
Yeah, I played with Nishant last night, and yeah, working on a deck that was using that, and yeah, when you play that on a Hammer Knight, that Hammer Knight is the worst unit you can have on the. I mean, it's a what -1/3 with recover one unit, and you're like, okay, well, this card is useless, just eating up a battlefield slot.
Yep.
And a lot of Phoenix Borns only have 5 battlefield.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big, big deal. If you do that to someone like Mayoni or Lulu, uh, that hurts. And if you get 2 out on Mayoni is going to be devastating. I mean, having 2 of your battlefield locked when you have only 3 means you're done.
Yep.
And if you do that to Lulu, that's half of her battlefield. She's in trouble also. It really messes up with things like widows too in that situation because
Yes. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a problem. Now,
Um,
blood chains is a nice way of dealing with that, right? Because you can just pay 1 die, sack your unit, and put
yes.
exhaustion tokens out on something. You still in that situation, I'm not sure who comes out ahead. I think it's pretty even trade overall.
Mhm.
You paid for a unit, then you had to sack it, pay use another card. They use regress. They have a unit that's locked down. You know, it's kind of a it's a pretty I think it's pretty even all around depending on what gets exhausted on their side.
That's true. Um, Real quick, as a side, just to say how the interaction with Summon Sleeping Widows works. Um, for anybody who is new to Ashes, or hasn't had they haven't had the chance to actually read through the FAQ, the first FAQ yet. Just know that the way destruction works is if a unit gets destroyed, it doesn't get discarded yet. So it's still locking up your battlefield. So if you have, let's say, an Airedel with 7 units on her battlefield, she has 1 left. Someone kills one of her units. If you play Summon Sleeping Widows, you don't get 2 Sleeping Widows. You only get 1 because the unit that was destroyed has not been discarded yet. Just to let you know. All right, so let's go on. Oh, also, by the way, Regress. Oh my God, major nerf to rhinos, right?
Oh
I
gosh,
just
rhinos, man. They went from top tier to bottom tier because of regress.
in 2 seconds flat.
Oh
Uh,
boy. Oh boy. Man. Regress is also kind of, the other thing we didn't cover really so much because it's not used, like you said, but it is an interesting way to deal with something that's got a lot of alterations on it, right?
yes, yeah.
Something
If
grows big,
something,
you can.
yeah, definitely. If something has a lot of alterations, it is a good idea to just regress it so that way it gets rid of all the alterations, but it doesn't affect massive growth.
Yeah, that's right, because
Yeah.
Massive Growth has Spell Guard.
Yep.
One other interesting thing to note about Regress is that it's a control card, guys. If you regress something on their battlefield that's trouble, and your win condition is to attack into them to deal damage to win the game, regressing their unit not going to help that much because you're going to attack into it they're gonna block with it, it'll die, and then that spot's cleared up.
Yep.
So you're really better off with other things like blood chains or just straight up killing the unit.
Yep.
So just but for control, it's fantastic. If your win condition is not to attack into their face, then that's a great way to lock down their battlefield.
It's a good thing to note. All right, so let's talk about Masked Wolves 2.0. We're talking about Blackcloud Ninja. So it's 3 mana, and when it comes into play, it requires another. You can activate an ability for 1 extra mana, or 1 extra die. I keep saying mana. 1 extra die to place an exhaustion on a target ready spell. And then, of course, it's got Shadow Strike 2, where you can use a main action to deal 2 damage to a target unit if it survives. Um, yeah, it's really weak. It's
Yeah.
very expensive for what it does,
Yep.
and it also the other ability is I don't think I've ever seen it get pulled off. Whenever I see a Blackcloud Ninja, I don't think I've ever seen it get pulled off just because there's so much. I can do Gilder and then Frog. I can do Ice Trap. I can do um, countless other things. And it doesn't really stay on the board long enough. And even if it did, it has to exhaust when it deals the 2 damage. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I tried a couple times to put this card in decks, and I'm like, okay, if I play it last, maybe I can get in play and Shadow Strike a couple times, or if I do this, it's so expensive for 3 dice. Because it has 2 life, the 3 dice cost very prohibitive, and then Steel Strike is a trap because you're like, well, I
mhm,
want to play it for Steel Strike, but now I've paid 4 dice for this unit that's gonna die to 2 dice
yep,
probably, 1 or 2 die. So I don't know if that's the best. I mean, that's not the best trade. Spending four
no,
dice for 1 or 2 is not the best trade. Shadow Strike is interesting, right? Shadow Strike is decent ability, but like you said, you have to exhaust the ninja, which means his 3 attack is kind of weird. Um, if you're exhausting him to deal 2 damage to units, then you're not attacking with that 3 attack. The reason, so if we compare this to something else that's dealt damage to units directly with exhaustion, it would be Anchornaut. But
hmm,
the reason Anchornaut is better is, well, there's a couple of reasons, right? First of all, it only costs 1 die. Um, Second of all, it's not a main action or a side action for Anchornaut. It's a
yeah,
free action. That's huge.
yep,
And the third thing is Anchornaut you can bring back for 1 die and not take any damage.
hmm,
If you want to do that with Black Cloud, you have to pay 3 more dice to summon him back out, and then if you wanted to bring him to your hand, you would take 3 damage. So in no situation do you want to pay for it that way. And it has recover 2, but 2 life, which means if you could get some life buffing on it, um, it could stick around a little longer. But that's another die, at least one other die you have to dedicate to buffing its life. And like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of cards that require another card to work well. Um, Blood Chains is an exception there because you're always going to have units out, but you're not always going to have alterations to buff life
yep,
if you're playing Brennen. If this card was not a unique card and you could play it in Rin, then maybe you consider it, right? For 3 dice, you get a 3/3. It's got recover
yep,
2.
yep.
Okay, maybe. But the fact that it's in Brennen is kind of, you want to root armor it, but you spend 4 dice then, and 5 if you Steel Strike. That's half of your dice. That's
Yeah,
a lot. That's expensive.
yeah. That's pretty much what I was gonna say. Because Niche asked, Niche12110 asked, what about opening with Black Cloud and Root Armor? Does that 1 extra health, well, two
Two
extra health change things? Um, it doesn't really change much, just because, with Brennen, since it's a Phoenixborn unique card, with Brennen he wants to throw the Black Cloud Ninja at something, or he wants to throw whatever he can at stuff. Um, so I guess I could see it if you were to Shadow Strike and then use Spirit Burn. Uh, you're almost getting there because then you would have spent what 5 mana for 4 damage.
Hmm.
So I mean that's not too bad, but there are better. There's better cards out there.
Yeah, I mean that's and you don't want a Spirit Burner Ninja, right?
Right.
You
You
don't.
wouldn't really want to in the first place anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
you could get better efficiency from a Fire Archer or Spirit Burn. You spend 2 dice for 3 damage,
yeah.
so it doesn't really make. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could definitely. Shadow Strike is really interesting because it's kind of like Memory Drain with Owl. So
Hmm.
Memory Drain is very strong in first fives. It can really mess up someone's plans, but having to exhaust your unit means you're freeing up an avenue for attack, and memory draining doesn't necessarily stop something from attacking you. Shadow Strike, on the other hand, could stop a unit from attacking because it's going to deal 2 damage to something. So maybe you exhaust yourself, but you remove one of their options, so it's like you had them available to block, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But not having a 3 attack threat also means your opponent can play less safe, right? They can start, oh, I'll just throw something out on the field and start swinging then, because I don't have to worry about leaving something up to block a 3 attacker.
Yeah. Um, and then you also, like if you think about it in when you think about it in Magic terms as well, you see a lot of 3/2 creatures. If you see a 3/2 creature that comes out for 3 mana, it's not really that special. But a 3/3 for 3 mana, that's a value card right there. That I mean, it's nowadays it's not so much just because of the power creep, but we're not talking about Magic. Um, but you get what I mean. Uh, and what else? What else? So yeah, it's I mean with
And it dies to Ice Trap.
and a dice ice trap. Yep. Um,
So imagine paying 4 dice so that you can summon a ninja and seal strike something, and then they pay 1 die and it dies.
yeah.
That's would be the most frustrating thing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely very frustrating. So for me personally, it pretty much goes the same way the Masked Wolf went. It's just
Too
it
expensive.
does too little for too much, right? And even when the Masked Wolf is, even if the Masked Wolf is
Focused.
focused, you still don't. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like the wolf should have been 1 wolf die base cost and 1 mask focus cost, and it would have been so much better.
yep,
Um, but having to grab 2 wolf cards just so that you can make the cost a power illusion, not great.
no.
Not great.
All right. Which is also a shame too, because I think Brennen and Noah seem to be the most. Um, if you look at it thematically, they look to be the most. I guess wizardy Phoenix
Yeah,
Born, and their unfortunately their unique abilities aren't all that great, or their unique cards aren't all that great. So yeah, it's
yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah. I mean, maybe down the line we'll see cards that help them out, but
Yeah.
any cards that help them out would probably help out other units too, unless they start using keywords like wolves get +1 attack, or ninjas get +1 life.
That would be pretty cool. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, we've mentioned it a couple times. It's Fire Archer.
Yeah, this card's really good.
This card is very good, especially in a Brennan deck because of Spirit Burn. But I mean, just being able to do, like you have Stormwind Sniper, which is the other ambush card, but Stormwind Sniper is ambush 2. However, he also is 3 mana to deal two, and Fire Archer kind of like yes, it is a 1/1 for one, but you're automatically getting that 1 die worth of damage right off the bat.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So Stormwind, and I don't think this thing replaces Stormwind. I think Stormwind is still a great unit. I mean, it's 2 damage direct, and you still have a 2 attacker on the field. It's only got 1 life, but if you can spend 3 dice to deal 2 damage direct and force your opponent to spend the die to ping it to death, that's still great value. The
mhm.
advantage Fire Archer has is that it's 1 die for 1 damage, very simple, very clean, and that's a unit that you can actually afford to recur with Power Ceremonial. Right? You
Yes.
can Power Ceremonial, you take 1 damage, and then you pay 1 more die, you put it back out. So that's another ping direct. And it's something you have in your discard pile, you have it available for you when you need that damage.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's a good. I don't know what anyone wants to say. It's a great card.
All right. Crimson Bomber. Crimson Bomber is 2 ceremonial to for a 3/2/0, and its side action is detonate 3. Destroy this unit to place 1 wound token on up to 3 target units. That is very good.
I really like this card. I didn't like it at first. When I first started, I was like, okay, it's decent. The 2 daggers are a bit prohibitive, but I've been playing it recently, and I
Hmm.
like it a lot. 2 dice for 3 attack is strong. Also, just gonna I don't want to mention it, but I'm gonna mention it anyway to you guys. 2 daggers, Crimson Bomber, side action, ice buff. You have a 3/3 for 2. Fantastic value.
Yes. Um, the only thing is, it does die to Ice Trap.
It does die to ice trap.
It does die to Ice Trap, which is unfortunate, but that's why if you're playing, you just got to be smart about it. Because don't. If the opponent has cards in hand, you don't want to just throw it out there willy nilly because you're pretty much just gonna lose it. There's a
Yep.
possibility that you could. However, like we did say earlier that we haven't really seen very much Ice Trap just because, a lot of people are going to be. Um, a lot of people are going to. It's going to be like that reverse psychology thing, you know? You. Do they have an Ice Trap in their first five, or are they going to think that everybody isn't going to put a. Two lifer in their first five, so they don't want to put the ice trap so that it doesn't become a wasted card in their first five. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I said, I would prefer everybody play for ice trap so that I don't have to, but everybody thinks I'm playing ice trap, right? That would be the best way to do it. Um, because then you're like, well, everyone thinks I'm playing ice trap, so they're gonna play they're gonna play safely as if I have ice trap to play around it, but then I don't even have to waste the card in my hand with it, which
hmm
is pretty fun. Um, yeah, detonate 3 though is fantastic.
yes,
A wound token, guys, a wound token. Now remember
yes,
how strong wounds are with EV. These are wounds, so they can't protect it. They don't get any triggers from receiving damage.
yep,
And yeah, it's 3 units, which is, I mean, you don't get 3 units typically, more than 3 units typically with things like Mist Typhoon or 100 Blades anyway. So it's kind of like a Mist Typhoon or 100 Blades.
and this actually came up, but I believe you don't have to target 3 different units because I feel like they would have mentioned that you have to target 3 separate units
You
if it was.
don't?
I'm pretty sure you don't because you can
That's something we
target.
gotta clarify because it would be really strong. Way stronger than I thought it was that way.
Well, because here's the thing, it doesn't say you may, right? So if, let's say, you detonate 3, you have to put 3 wounds on three
But it says up to.
units. Right.
It says up to. So if there were
Okay.
only 2 units available, I mean, you
Oh,
could
yeah,
place it
that's
on
true.
one, 0, 1, 2, or 3 then.
Yeah, that's true. But, like if they only have a Hammer Knight out for, or Not a Hammer Knight. Let's do an EV out, and you really want that EV to die, or you know that Crimson Bomber is going to die next turn if you don't take care of that EV anyway. So you detonate, and I feel like you can do target the EV twice
See,
because
I don't. I think you can't, but that's something we'll have to clarify. I just think the way it reads, and this is because I don't know if you ever played Sentinels of the Multiverse, but they use similar language in that game. Not that those games are related in any way,
yeah.
but usually that's when someone phrases it like that, they mean different intrinsically. But if you're right, then Crimson Bomber moves up from good like to amazing tier.
I see. I feel that way because with my history in Magic, Magic will usually let you know if it's going to be separate. So they'll actually say, destroy this, destroy or sacrifice this creature to deal um, one damage on three different units or on three different targets, right? That's what Magic usually has. Um, so when I look at Crimson Bomber and I see the destroy this unit to place one wound on up to three target units, I feel like you can target each, you know, different one. I mean, it's kind of like uh, what's something else that targets and then targets.
I'm gonna ask it on the handy dandy Slack chat.
Ah, yes, that's a good. All right, so once again, guys, if you're not on Slack, definitely check this out. It's ashesrules.slack.com. It's just all of the people, pretty much most of the people that are active on Ashes Online Facebook forum. That pretty much talk about everything in there. One person actually was saying, maybe we shouldn't talk so much about the rules on Slack because other people might not see it. And that's actually a good point, but that means you guys should also hit up
Join Slack.
and join Slack. Yeah,
Yeah. My Slack app is not working,
totally
but it
free.
usually does.
I'll write it in. I'll write it
Okay.
in. Um,
Okay, it's down for everybody apparently. Cool. Well, normally it's not down, and normally you get super fast rules responses from Julius or Robert, um, Bob, as he likes to go by. Oh, hey, is that you, Julius? Can you answer that question for us? Can Crimson Bomber place more than one wound token on a single unit with a single detonate activation? No, that's what I thought. So it is three different target units.
it is three different units. Ah, that. See, I had Crimson Bomber up here, and for me now it dropped down.
See, I'm from the other way around. I already had him up high, and I was like, if he goes up even higher, but it's still a fantastic unit.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. I wouldn't. I don't know about playing it. Maybe I might play it in first five. I feel like Detonate 3 could have been much better. Um,
So if you want, we can play a game. Oh, I know you're gonna do Dark Souls, but we'll play a game, and I'll show you. I'll show you the power of the bomber.
oh, don't worry, Nishan told me all about it already.
Uh,
He was like, he was telling me about how you were just putting out so much damage right off the bat, first round.
It's yeah, 3 attack for 2 dice is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah. Um. All right. Well, so that's pretty much the Children of Blackcloud. We'll have to find out about the Crimson Bomber, but coming from a Magic background, I felt like it was supposed to be target units. Each unit can be targeted multiple times, or any of the units can be targeted multiple times.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's not magic, guys. It's not magic. This is a game with control.
yeah, control magic.
Control.
uh, all
So
right,
you
so
guys are known as a
Julie says the reason is that you aren't defining targets from two effects. It's a single effect that lets you name three targets. Okay.
okay.
So that's also a bit different from Magic then.
By the way, if you guys didn't catch that control joke, if you look closely at, um, wow, the name is
Golden Veil.
what's Golden Veil.
Yep.
Golden Veil says a unit you control. There's no R there. Um, so no one noticed this except for Steve is the only one who noticed it, apparently. And then he
Yeah.
tells everybody in the Slack chat, and once you see that, guys, you can't unsee it.
I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show it to everybody right here, right now. All right. If you look right there, third line, it says target a unit you control. It bothers me so much. It bothers me so much. I don't know why it does, but yeah, it does. Um,
And look, you say, should it bother you? Bother you? And the answer is no, no.
all right, so that's Children of Black Cloud. I guess we got the ruling on